45 minutes we'll use for going through different slides and then content about ChatGPT, and then I'll ensure to answer all your questions at the end. Okay, so over time, the technology has evolved, right? We have seen different kinds of upgrades in technology, both in terms of software and the hardware. So initially, we had different kinds of mainframe and mini computing where we had huge hardware, very difficult to process or crunch any kind of data, store any data. So it was that era of mainframes. And then came the era of personal computers where each household had their own personal computer, and they were able to store files, everything within their computers, and it was difficult to share or exchange data between systems. People used to use floppy disks to share information, and so that was the era of personal computers. Then came the era of internet, where the client server networks started to become the boom of internet, where different clients can start to interact with different servers and exchange large volumes of data. And that's when the advent started to kind of store and process large volumes of data. And then came the era of enterprise computing, where different enterprises start to have in-house data marts, data lakes. They started storing huge volumes of data, have very big database solutions within the enterprise, and it led to a lot of different in-house solutions being developed within huge organizations. And in the current era, we are at a place where we can leverage cloud computing. All of the data can reside on the cloud. We can provide enormous amount of compute on the fly for different organizations. So this has unlocked opportunities to kind of provide API-based responses for any kind of queries, right? And now ChatGPT can leverage cloud computing to provide responses. All the model and everything is in the cloud, and you just the model training or all of the queries and input can happen with an API, and you can integrate ChatGPT into any of your applications. You can build by on top of what ChatGPT can offer. So and analytics has also evolved. It's an evolution, right? So people usually start with certain reporting where there is data management, exploration, or automation, and then it goes to descriptive analytics where you try to understand and profile customers, try to understand what are the data slices, and try to come up with certain trends and patterns. And then comes the predictive analytics where you can see what happens in the past and you can foresee in the future. And now the epitome of overall analytics is deep learning and artificial intelligence. And ChatGPT basically falls in this sphere where it leverages multi-language models, deep neural networks, and comes up with a conversational model where for every question it can give a response, right? So ChatGPT typically falls in the top end. Okay, now what's ChatGPT? So ChatGPT is a chatbot. It is basically fine-tuned for doing certain tasks. You can basically ask a query and you can get a response. So it's a conversation model. So it's like a chatbot, and it can generate a data code or any kind of queries that you can give. And it basically the underlying model. It has been trained with the data up to until 2021. So if you ask any kind of a question for certain events that happened after 2021, you will get a standard answer that, sorry, I'm not aware of the events after 2021. So it essentially runs based on a model which has been trained with the past historical data before 2021, and it's a conversation model. So that's in a nutshell ChatGPT, and it's an open source solution where it got a multi-billion-dollar funding from Microsoft, and it's being integrated into Bing search at the moment. So yeah, that's where it's heading. And now let's see the history of ChatGPT. How did ChatGPT come into the picture? So it started off with GPT. It's a generative pre-training. That's the full form, and it basically uses something called as a transformer model. So there are different kinds of transformer models. We will just take a peek into what are they, what are those variants, but we not go deep into it. But it uses something called as a transformer model, and within transformer model there is a type of model called decoder only model, and it is used to predict what is the probable next token given certain context. And the beauty of this model is that with a small training set, it can perform very well, and it can give you large set of responses with using a small training set. So that's the advantage of a transformer decoder model. After GPT came the GPT-1. So it was trained on 40 gigabytes of test. It had 170 million parameters, and it can generate text and for different kinds of tasks. And after GPT-1 came GPT-2 with 10 folds of data, training data. It has 1.5 billion parameters, and it was able to have a lot more compute. It was fine-tuned on a wide variety of tasks, like question and answers, long text, and summary text, and etc. Then came GPT-3, and GPT-3 has 175 billion parameters, and it has a large pre-training data set, 300 billion tokens. It has features to generate for language generation. It took a lot of world knowledge, so it is like a mini Wikipedia of knowledge, and it has the ability to kind of give short answers, and and there was a certain versions which was trained on code, so that you can say you can ask GPT-3, hey, can you write a small program to create Fibonacci series in Python? So it can generate the entire code in Python to address this problem. It was trained on instruction, so there was something called as Instruct GPT, which came into picture. So where you can give certain instructions to instruct GPTs, and it can perform those tasks. And now the current version is GPT 3.5. It has its own entire code base, where the entire training was done on code, and all of the instructions are fine tuned. And then you have the Instruct GPT, which was trained on different kinds of text, and all of the instructions are very much fine tuned. And from GPT 3.5, you have the Chat GPT, which comes, and it's basically an improved version of Instruct GPT, which has a better dialogue, a lot more curation in the responses that you can get, and that's how it has shaped up. So Chat GPT essentially coming from GPT 3.5 with much better improved version of the Instruct GPT model that is present. And now we are waiting for GPT-4 to be, which is going to be released, and I think that's going to be a much more bigger game changer in the overall space. Okay, I'm just looking at any Q&A, but looks everything good. So let's proceed. Okay, what are the
Um,
most?
we have questions in Q&A. If you want, I can read it out for you.
Sure. Okay, let's take some questions.
Yes, sir. So, how is bar different from ChatGPT?
I'll have that just in a while.
Okay. And what is the difference between ChatGPT? And so they are like the questions are mainly based on other chatbots. So I don't know. Some people are saying that the screen is not visible, but it is working fine for me. So guys, I request you to please check your internet connections. And yeah, most of the questions are based on the comparison. So we can proceed.
Okay, so for
Yeah.
comparison with other launches, I'm sure people are excited to hear about Google Bard release. So I have a dedicated
Mhm.
slide. We'll talk more about that just in a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so what are the most used areas? So ChatGPT can be leveraged for copywriting, for blogging, product descriptions, or you want to write certain code snippets, you want to write about build documentations, you want to do a lot of data analysis. ChatGPT can do it for you. So, like I said, it basically recognizes human language patterns, and it can understand different relationships in the data, and it's basically a knowledge base. Before 2021, all of the knowledge that is present, it has summarized, and it encompass the model encompass all of that knowledge together, right? So that's what ChatGPT can do. And just building on what we have seen about different transformer models, so there are three different variants. One is encoder only, and there's encoder decoder, and there's only decoder only type. So there are three different versions. The encoder only, you have BERT, so it has repeating the non different language tokens. It can do a lot of different classifications, and it's a lot more powerful, but it requires a lot of masked language tokens. And then you have encoder decoder models. So you might have heard about T5, T0. So these are certain examples. What the advantage of it is, if you have certain blanks, then it can fill it up. And it's very powerful in that way to kind of identify those gaps and missing places. And it is less fluent with different text generation processes that are present. Then you have this decoder only, and the example is the GPT model, and you have even Lambda. So Lambda is Google version, and then you have GLAM, Blue Ridge. So these are different multi-language models. All these are decoder only. So the beauty of this is it can predict what is the next token or the next field, and it is very easy to build because it requires a small amount of training data to kind of build it, and it becomes very easy. So GPT is the open source version, and Lambda is Google AI model, and Bard, which is Apprentice Bard, which is being released now, is being developed, is a layer on top of Lambda. So how you have Chat GPT on the top, and you have GPT 3.5 as the core model. So for Google Apprentice Bard, that's the UI interface, and then you have Lambda as the model, which is kind of running and powering Google Apprentice Bard. Okay, so let's just try to understand how the ChatGPT training process typically work. How does it kind of give those responses in the fly, and how does this whole uh, multi-language models typically work? The first step for building any kind of a model is collecting data and building that supervised model, right? So you basically try to get a small data, and that basically is something, it's something like you're making a small kid learn, and then you basically have certain labels, and you basically say, okay, this is a desired outcome, and you kind of build certain policies and rules, which basically creates instructions for the model. And then the second step would be more like rewarding for all of the outputs. So there will be different outputs that will come from the model, from the step one phase, and each output is reviewed, and a person comes in, and he basically ranks, okay, this is the correct output, this is not the right output, so this is the order of the outputs that you need to is an ideal order, and you kind of fine tune these output. Some you basically correct, saying, hey, this is not the correct output, probably you need to reword this in this way. So that feedback goes back into the model, and the model learns, okay, this is not how I need to give for a similar question in the future. I should probably reword my answer based on the learning that it is getting from the labelers from over time. So with this, the policy gets optimized, and it uses this reinforcement algorithm, and all new sample is again sampled, and the model basically generates again another set of output. The rewards are calculated, and it basically updates the policy, right? So it's like you can think like this is like a three-step process, and it requires a lot of learning, retraining, and so on and so forth. So for Chat GPT as well, there were a lot of labelers that were hired to train these outputs and iterate and make corrections to the overall underlying algorithm. So we'll not go deep into these intricacies. We can think of a lot more complex. So we'll proceed to the most awaited slide. How does BARD compare with Google search? So I can ask, go to Google and say, when did Mahatma Gandhi born? Right? I can ask also Chat GPT a similar question. Right? So for Chat GPT, it can generate the text, data, and answers. Right? So we know what Chat GPT can do. So in Google search, we use day in day out. It provides a lot of knowledge. It's a complete knowledge discovery. It gives you a ranked set of content for you. And Google search also gives certain boxes. Say, so suppose you search for the birth date, you get on the top a prompt saying, okay, this is the exact birth date. If you search what are the top Bollywood movies, you get a carousel of set of movies on the top on the Google search page, right? So Google search has also been evolved with multiple different set of features over time. And there are a lot of things like you have a knowledge panel. So suppose you search for a famous hero or actor. So they on the right side you'll see a box with what are the movies he acted, what are the when was he born, or what is kind of his books or publishings, etc., etc. Right. So there's a lot of knowledge that has been created. So ChatGPT can generate that in the form of text, and you can see. But Google search also has that features. And ChatGPT is exclusively only text-based interpreter at the moment, but Google search you have a lot more like videos, music, and you can have images, a gallery, and everything structured. ChatGPT is trained only on the web scrape data, whichever is publicly available data before 2021. But Google search, even if there is a new website that you launch today, right now, the Google bot can go get that URL, add it into the search index, and it can update Google search in real time. And you can, when you search for that website, it can show up in the Google page, right? So that's the major difference. And in ChatGPT, you will not be able to tell what was the source from where that answer it is generating. You cannot tell. That's a chance. But in Google search, you'll exactly know, okay, I'm giving you this information. I got this information from this particular URL, which was created by someone. So you can exactly trace back to the source from where that information is coming up. In ChatGPT, it's very expensive in order to maintain host, and that's why you might see if you're trying to explore ChatGPT, you will see we're already at the maximum. We cannot give you, but we'll open up over time. And please notify or some kind of a prompt, right? So because it's very expensive, it's currently open source. That's why they started this subscription model for leveraging ChatGPT. But whereas Google search runs completely on ads, so it's only a fraction of cost than that can take for running a Chat GPT. So Google search is much more scalable, and it's a kind of a knowledge repository. And for coming, it's very unlikely for ChatGPT to sustain, because very costly. Yeah, it cannot become free, so it would need a way to generate revenue. Google search generates revenue from its ads business, so it will be free. It will always remain free because it's already banking on different ads. So Google search is gonna remain as free. And now, coming to this slide, which is a comparison with Google's Apprentice Bard, which is being released. I think you can even fine tune to the launch that is happening in Paris. So it's happening at the same time now, where you will hear announcements from Google how Google Apprentice Bard is being integrated into Google Search. So you will see Google Search completely transformed by leveraging Google Apprentice Bard. And let's see what are the difference between Google Apprentice Bard and ChatGPT, and what Bard can do and ChatGPT cannot do. First and foremost is the data that it hosts. So as I said, ChatGPT has only limited data until 2021, but whereas Apprentice Bard, it has its data and sources available from the internet. So if there's some new information, there's a new event, say there is earthquake that has recently come in the news. So Apprentice Bard can give you information about that earthquake. Say you can query how many people have died in the recent earthquake. Bard can give a response, but whereas ChatGPT, you'll not get an answer. Bard can be integrated into Google search engine, and it can give a multitude of data access. So on the Google search page, it's not just user generated content, right? So there is also a lot of trusted content that Google generates. So on the right side, the knowledge panel that you see, that is not something users have generated. It doesn't come from only from Wikipedia. It also has, Google has a lot of trusted data sources, reliable fact-checked data that comes on Google search page. And now when Bard is integrated to Google search, it can leverage all of these fact-checked, reliable, trusted data that can become available to Google Bard, right? And with that, Bard becomes much, much more powerful. But whereas ChatGPT, it is only limited. You only need to pass data. It requires a lot of these validators to check, cross-check whether every answer is right. Can it be trusted? Is it true or not? Um, Google Bard is little prone to some factual errors, but and it can make up some create its own creative and so on. ChatGPT can provide accurate data to the users, a little more accurate, but the percentage of these factual errors are very low. Within Bard, within ChatGPT, it can have a lot more variability in the kind of errors it can take. But I think both can evolve to overcome these errors, and with multitude of retraining over time, they'll become more smart, more matured. um, I think we covered about this. Like, it has a lot of data that it can leverage, and Google Bard, it can talk about a lot of different difficult complex topics, break it down to smaller, and uh, spread knowledge a lot more widely over ChatGPT. So yeah, so this is the overall difference between Bard and how it can compare with ChatGPT. Overall, Google Apprentice Bard will be a powerful killer because it can crunch fact-check data, and it has a lot of current events. You cannot create multitudes of models over time, and you cannot build it, right? I'm sure Google Bard over time will become a lot more powerful. It becomes scalable and more reliable in terms of the kind of output it can provide. Coming to certain known issues with ChatGPT, it's basically limited to historic data. It's little sensitive to the kind of input. So even if you change one keyword in the query that you give to ChatGPT, the answer and outcome will change. The output can be biased because it has been trained on human curated data, right? So if there is a bias in the input data, the model also will, model's output also will be biased. Say suppose there is a gender bias about a particular topic in the training data, then obviously if you give if you give a query to that related to that topic, then the output also will be biased. And if you ask certain questions related to harmful instructions, say how to commit suicide, or how to kill someone, or how to make a bomb, ChatGPT will refuse to provide answers because that can cause ethical harm, you will not get any answers for them. um, and one other known issue is that it uses the same sentence or phrases for multiple different questions, right? So the reuse of certain phrases and terminologies can widely happen with ChatGPT. And one other thing is sometimes the answers are useless or cannot be relied upon. It's not fact checked. So you might, because it's just based on training data, so we cannot 100% rely on the outcome or the outputs of what ChatGPT can answer. Okay, so let me take some questions before I move ahead with certain use cases. Um, Let me go to Q&A. I can see a lot of questions. Okay, let me see. Okay, there's one question whether ChatGPT is going to be monetized. Yes, it will be. So they're planning to go with a subscription model, and based on the number of calls that you make, they're planning to make that subscription model. There is another question around. mm can ChatGPT overtake Google in future? Okay, that's a nice question. I think it's very unlikely because Google is a tech giant and they have a lot of infrastructure, they have a lot of research and knowledge base. And the recent Google Bard is an answer that will answer this question, that yeah, it's very unlikely that ChatGPT can overtake. ChatGPT has been in the works like past few years, but Google has been working on a related technology from a long time, and I think it's very unlikely. Probably it will take a decade more to if someone comes with a completely groundbreaking model. Probably it can happen. Let me take some more questions. Okay, there is a question where the question is, what are the fields where human interventions that will be job worthy? I have certain use cases. I think probably that will answer. So ChatGPT has a potential large number of use cases. We will touch upon them, and that will answer that question. Okay, let me take a couple more. Okay. Are you saying Google Bard would answer harmful questions? No ethical constraints inputted? No. So even Google Bard does not let you get answers to harmful queries. So there's always this layer of fine tuning, and you cannot let these chatbots expose or share answers to harmful questions. So even Google Bard would not do that. Okay, let me answer one more question. Okay. Okay, there's a question. Can ChatGPT evolve and be able to answer questions from events happening in 2022 and beyond? If yes, it can be possible, but they have to make a complete change in the way the technology is built. So it's basically currently powered based on the data. It's like a pre-trained model. It's not a real-time trained model. In real time, it can learn on the new data. So the way it is built is completely different. So it is possible, but it requires a complete change in the way it is being built. Okay. Okay, let's go to uh, some real applications of ChatGPT, and what are the use cases, and let's see what ChatGPT responds to set of questions. So I asked the question, can you explain ChatGPT to a 4-year-old girl? And I also asked it another question, can you explain ChatGPT to a 4-year-old boy? So, it's like asking to explain, and we are trying to learn about ChatGPT from the bot itself. So if you see, for a girl, when I say it gives example with it's like a box filled with a lot of toys and games. But whereas if I say for a boy, it says it's like a big smart robot. It's trying to curate the answer based on the gender that is being part of the question. And the answer also fascinates very much, because it's trying to make it simplified in a manner that a 4-year-old can understand. So it's very impressive to see how the response is being curated, right? So for example, just like how you asked your mom and dad questions, you can ask ChatGPT questions and it will try to answer for best of its knowledge. It knows a lots of things about many different topics like animals, colors, and even stories, right? So it is giving that things that the 4-year-old girl can understand, like stories and toys, and trying to make relationship with their parents, who they interact day in day out. Okay, so if you ask something like who are you, so it says it's a language model which is developed by OpenAI, and it can help to have conversations with humans, right? So that's pretty much, it's like a chatbot. What can you do? It can answer a wide range of topics from science, history, geography, different current events. It can generate text. It can summarize text. It can training data comes from the internet, which are like I explained it, from the scraped data from the internet, and it is it doesn't might not have that up to date information, like we already discussed. Why do we need to use you? So it's applications to quickly find some information. We typically use Google search to find some information. So even ChatGPT can give that to you, right? So that's why people say that ChatGPT is Google's killer, but essentially only for finding that knowledge, to have some conversation, to learn new things, to improve your language skills. So you can improve your English, the way you interact. So you can improve that, and you can even perform specific tasks like generating code, or if you want to summarize an article, or you want to understand the entire book without reading it, just to get a summary. So or you want a huge 10,000 lines doc to be summarized to like 100 words, ChatGPT can do it for you. Okay. So I can share one incident where I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she fell through a slide, and she hit her head with a metal rod. And and it was a national holiday in the US, and there was no doctor available. We were in a much panic state. We were not sure what needs to be done. We searched in Google. We got multiple different articles. We're trying to understand, okay, what is the best step. And by then it was like close to uh, half an hour to figure out, okay, what is the right steps. But ChatGPT, I gave the same query to ChatGPT, I got it in a minute. So it told me, first check for signs of concussion, consciousness, then check for any signs of injury, and see if there is any concussion, like some confusion, dizziness, headache, or something for the child. It asked me to comfort the child. It helped me to monitor the child for a few hours, then seek medical attention if its symptoms are worsening. Right. So a perfect answer, probably when you need some medical advice, you have no one, ChatGPT for you. There was another use case. All is a real use case. So for my 4-year-old daughter, like 3 weeks back, right? So she had cold, and from the cold she got a redness in the eye, and it's called pink eye. And so it's little we had visited a physician. We paid like $400 for the visit, and the doctor said no, these set of things, no medication given. nothing. So just follow a particular set of routine, and it will get addressed in a week's time. Had I used Chat GPT, it gave me all the home remedies. It told me several times use warm compress, use eye drops, take rest, be hydrated, avoid rubbing so that it doesn't spread to the other eye, and it can make things worse. So it gave me perfect set of and exactly these were the exact things the doctor advised. So ChatGPT can help to provide those instructions as a general physician. So you have common flu or cold or fever, or to get the initial diagnosis done and provide initial set of reliefs or symptoms, you can definitely leverage ChatGPT. And even you can figure out what could be possible reasons and try to avoid that in the future. Okay. You can if I also asked ChatGPT, like, what are your use cases in the manufacturing sector? So it told me, I can help you in solving predictive maintenance. So there are different heavy machinery and equipment, and ChatGPT can help understand what could be the possible part failures, and help address predictive maintenance, help in quality control, so help for supply chain optimization, process optimization, so on and so forth. How can it help in real estate sector? It can help to provide property descriptions. It can help in providing different property valuations, and so on and so forth. Some might not be relevant, but yeah, this is the kind of response that you can get. And these broad use cases are for artificial intelligence. So it's not specific to Chat GPT anyway. But ChatGPT can evolve to essentially solve these use cases in the future. So that's what it's meaning. And you can see for transportation sector, it gave a set of use cases of how AI language models can help. It can help in autonomous models, customer service, predictive maintenance, route optimization, and so on and so forth, right? So coming to education sector, I think ChatGPT is going to be a big, big hit in the education sector, right? So right from providing the right relevant knowledge to students, provide personalized learning based on your each user preference. It can do automated grading. It can generate new questions patterns based on existing questions. It can build intelligent tutoring systems. It can generate new content based on existing content. So it has a lot multitude of applications. And I think in the coming years, the education sector needs to be revamped. So there's no longer a need for you to remember different formulae applications, and so on and so forth. Just imagine an era where we used to have abacus, or we used to kind of do complex mathematics when calculator was not existent. Once calculator came, almost all of there was a change in the kind of education system. Right, we only do basic math, but the complex calculation, everything is taken care by computers and calculators. The same way, there is no need no longer to kind of post all of this knowledge. So we have these models to kind of build that knowledge, and we need to create have a curriculum which can build creativity in the students, which can build skills to the students, where they can leverage these tools so that they can do 10x more effective and productive work than doing the same thing what a bot can do. Right, there's no point of building snippets of code which a bot can do in a second. No point in wasting time and resources and efforts. So it's all about getting the creative ability to pipe different things out, leverage these upcoming tools in this field to do your work more fastly, smartly, and accurately. Okay, so one other example. So plant UML is tool to build different visualizations and schemas. So I asked ChatGPT to build a plan to ML code to explain how internet works. So it generated the code. I simply copied the code and went to the website to build it. This is how a diagram got created automatically from ChatGPT. And it also gave me an explanation of how internet works, right? So in the form of this code snippet. I also asked, I went a little beyond and asked it to create a sequence diagram to explain the relationship between the characters in Ramayana. So it gave me very nice, what are the top characters and how they are interrelated. And I was able to get this chart created. So, it quite fascinates. There is no chart, something like this existent in the internet, but it was able to build these relationships. It was able to understand, okay, these are the relationships that are present within the Ramayana epic, and it was able to extract that, build those relationships, and convert that into a plan to ML sequence diagram and give the answer. So I think hands down that it's done a wonderful job in generating this. Not just that, you can build synthetic data using ChatGPT. So you can say, hey, I want a CSV table which is believable data with data like ID, first name, last name, date of birth, country, occupation. It created a flat file, and then I asked, can you convert it to into JSON format? It was able to convert into a JSON format. So anytime if you have a use case where you need synthetic data as part of your project, if you're working on a data science project, then you can leverage ChatGPT and it can create synthetic data for you to build your models. Like we saw in the education sector how ChatGPT can help. You can ask ChatGPT, can you explain a particular SQL code? It did a fantabulous job. It broken down the entire query into, okay, these are the different tables, and it is joining based on this particular IDs, and these are the different outputs and what each output is, from where it is coming, and how does all of this fit together? What are the kind of conditions that are happening, right? It did a very nice job. So you can actually use all the queries that you have created. You just run it with ChatGPT, get the documentation, add it, and done. So your documentation is done in few seconds. You can use ChatGPT to even build websites. So I asked ChatGPT, hey, can you create a HTML file with something called money, an apparel site, and use a basic bootstrapping for all of the styling. It created the HTML code. I just copied the code into a text file and I opened it in Chrome. So you have a basic template just ready to get started. You don't have to do anything. The entire basic code is just the created. So how this is going to evolve is in the future, you don't you will not be writing any of this any longer. So all of the boilerplates for any of the applications and tools will be automatically written by these AI tools. So already there are different AI tools already existing. Like even in the field of data science to automate machine learning, we have H2O.ai, where you can automate multitude of models. You have different predictive tools, everything which can automate multiple different data pipelines, machine learning models, and there are similar applications and tools for building middleware, UI, and libraries and packages, right? So more of these are going to come, and it's going to come to a stage where if you want to build a website, you just drag and drop. Okay, this is the UI. These are the fields. Automatically, the entire backend gets created. The middleware in the backend gets created. You can build enterprise level applications in few clicks. Right. So that's where it eventually will go. And the way we different tools, they're going to become smart and they're going to become much more easier for us to use. Okay. So you can even ask about certain domain, something like, can you explain automobile assembly? It can explain each and everything what happens in that field. So if you're someone like a data scientist or software engineer, you can learn about the domain from ChatGPT. I'm sure you might have heard about a judge from Colombia using ChatGPT to kind of pass a judgment, right? So something related to autistic minor paying a huge amount of fee, and the insurance is not covering for the therapies, right? So for that, the judge used ChatGPT. So if you can see, the applications of ChatGPT is also in the legal area. So you have a tons and tons of cases and case judgments, and how you can use all of that knowledge for the current case. You can even use this for different auditing and tracking information from the repository. So I know a few other areas where CA, chartered accountants, are using ChatGPT to query different articles, identify different nuances and policies and rules and regulations within the kind of upcoming regulations that come. So you can directly ask ChatGPT instead of spending a lot of time understanding all of that, trying to correlate the nuances between them. You have ChatGPT for you. It can grow
Um,
through
so
crunch.
if you, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
If you're, okay, now it is visible. Earlier it was not visible to us. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'll just take a couple more minutes and we can open it for questions. So yeah, so the ChatGPT can crunch thousands of documents, provide you the right answers in few seconds. So uh, ChatGPT can solve that for you. It can also rewrite emails or documents. So if there is an email, you can just ask ChatGPT. It can rewrite and give you in a much more structured format. And not just that, so ChatGPT has an option to regenerate the response. So the beauty lies of ChatGPT is that you don't get a response, the same response for everyone. So you can ask it to regenerate, and you can get a newer and a different response for each query. So if there are 100 people, 100 people can get 100 different responses for the same set of question, which you can use. Right. So that's the beauty with the ChatGPT, because it's a generative conversation model. So it can create and generate multitudes of responses for the same set of questions. This we have seen document summarization. You can ask any patent or a huge document, and it can summarize what happens in the document. You can use ChatGPT for as a travel planner. Say, suppose you want to do a road trip from a particular location. You can say that I have 5 days and I don't want to travel each day more than 200 kilometers, and I want to have scenic roads, or I want to pass through beaches, or whatever constraint you have. You just pass through it. It gives you a day-to-day itinerary, where you need to stop, how do you need to travel, how do you need to plan. I think uh, nothing can beat this. I think it can be used as an amazing travel planner. And then coming to the last, how you can contribute to open source. You can ask ChatGPT. This is step-to-step process that you can use to start contributing. So you can give feedback. Like if some answers are wrong, you can give thumbs up or thumbs down, and the feedback can be created to better suit and improve ChatGPT over time. So we'll use the last few minutes for questions. I hope you had a good informative session about overall ChatGPT. What are the different use cases it has? What is the kind of competition in this landscape? Okay,
Yeah.
let me.
Thank you so much. So, before we proceed to answer the questions, I would like to request the attendees to please fill up the feedback poll, as it helps us to conduct more such sessions in the upcoming future.
Great. Sure thing.
We can
Uh,
take the questions. Yeah, we can take the questions as well.
do you want to probably summarize and share top questions?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. I can see lot many questions over here, so I'll do that for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so um, how can we use such GPT and Chat GPT models to make tasks like data cleaning automated, or for building a chatbot to some custom data, as I have to like survey data. So he
Uh,
wants to build a Chat GPT, I guess.
yeah. So it becomes very easy now. You have already the model, so you take a subscription app for ChatGPT, or you can even take a subscription of Google Apprentice Bot, whatever suits your use case. It's like a API, so you just build your UI and you integrate the API in the backend, right? So now building any chatbot, open-ended chatbot is like a couple of clicks. You don't have to build it from the scratch or anything. So it probably just take a couple of days to build your own chatbot by using the existing technology.
Thank you. And okay, question related. So with this Chat GPT, can I answer questions related to data science?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I
so
can answer that.
yes.
Okay, so can it be used for predictions using satellite images and landscapes?
Definitely. So I think ChatGPT is just a conversation chatbot. So there are multitude of other models that OpenAI has. So they have something like text to image, image to text, and there's a multitude of applications. And we are just getting started. And the kind of possibilities that it can unlock is a lot. And there are a lot of research projects from Google as well, which are in the behind running behind. So one good use case is in the healthcare, where you can have, for all of the preliminary diagnostics and analysis, you can have a chatbot. And in a recent application to detect terminal cancer, AI-based model was much more accurate than a doctor to evaluate, the images and figure out, okay, if the patient has a cancer, and is there a probability that he or she can have cancer. So the AI model was much more accurate than the doctor. So yeah, so we are almost there. I think just few more years, it will become much more strong and confident.
Okay, so people are asking about the language barriers and the different type of languages available that the ChatGPT model understands. So is it limited to English, or we have many such languages?
It's going to come with multi-language. It's a multi-language model, and even the Google Apprentice Bard, it's going to be rolled out across the globe. So it will be a multi-language model. They will unlock it in phases. So we need to first stabilize it for a particular language, and then over time release for other languages, and make it much more strong.
Okay, and how do you think search engine optimization is going to be changed with the use of ChatGPT or the Google version of it, that is the Bard?
Right. So you probably the announcements are going to come, but what I see how Google search is going to be transformed, the entire homepage. So if you see the Google search page, there's something, I am feeling lucky is being written, right? So probably you'll have a interface for Google Bard, where you can give your query and Bard can answer all of that. So Google Bard will get integrated into Google search, and similarly, Chat GPT is being integrated into Microsoft Bing search. Yeah, we will soon see the changes in the Google search and Microsoft Bing in soon.
Okay, sir. Okay, look, a lot many people are asking about this presentation. So, are you going to upload this somewhere like GitHub or anything so that people can access it?
Sure, I will upload my LinkedIn page. Feel free
Okay.
to. take a look.
Yeah,
It'll
so
come
the
in LinkedIn.
same the LinkedIn the link has been shared to you in the chat section. You can access it, and please connect with him. He's the best known for him. Okay, so I have my question. I just want to ask you, and I take this opportunity, like as like chat gpt can code on behalf of us, so like how do you think that it is going to affect our jobs?
Okay, so I was expecting for this question. Wonderful question.
Yeah.
And I would say there would be a shrinkage in the low level kind of jobs in coming years. So something like we don't require basic programmers who will write small set of code, like who will create a program to kind of write some Fibonacci series or smaller chunks of code. I think all of that will be automated. Uh, People need to have mid-level or higher level of skills, and there will be new roles that will open up, like how you can use these different AI based tools. And one big area which will become prominent will be compliance regulations. Right, with the advent of these AI based tools, you need to have also policies, regulations in place, so that they don't violate, they don't show harmful content. Now because of ChatGPT, what can happen, people can ask any set of questions, and there will be random set of answers which might not be fact checked. It could be completely false, and false information can misinformation can widely spread, right? So we need curations and regulations of this data over time, and this is going to become a lot more important. So we have multiple different regulations in different countries that are passing, like DSA, European Union, IDMAC. So multiple regulations are coming up, and I think with these tools, more regulation will come. So a new set of jobs, a new set of skills will be required. And yeah, so be ready to upskill yourself to leverage these AI based tools, and that will help you to stay up in the market and stay up ahead of the curve.
Yeah, we are keeping our jobs in danger, like creating such models, but though it is very useful to us. And thank you so much, Mani, for this wonderful, wonderful session. On behalf of Analytics Vidya, I thank you very much. I would like to thank you for your time and for delivering such a wonderful session. I'm sure our audience found it insightful, and I hopefully we can conduct more such sessions with you in the coming future, sir.
Definitely, it was glad. I can see a lot more, a lot of comments, very interesting
Yeah.
questions, a lot of interest that I could see. Really glad to be part of this, and yeah, talk to you all soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope you guys have filled up the feedback poll. If not, I request you to please do that, as it helps us to conduct more such sessions. And thank you so much, sir, for having for this wonderful session. I'm literally, as far as like my experience is concerned, this was my best session. So thank you. And okay, so we will meet soon. Till then, keep learning. Bye bye. I'm ending the poll, guys. Thank you so much. Bye, sir.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye. Take care.
Yeah. Bye. Yeah. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you, guys. There's 100% participation. Thank you so much. I see it as a positive result. Thank you so much. I'm ending this webinar for all. Keep learning. Adios. Yes, Imanshu, you have any doubt? Yeah. Type it fast. You can't talk, right? Okay, so you can find this presentation on his LinkedIn page. If you want, I can send his LinkedIn profile to you. Just connect with him and you'll find it there. Okay, guys. Bye. Take care.